Hello and welcome to another short drawing lesson. This week we're going to draw the Starsky and Hutch car. It's quite tricky, so as usual draw very lightly at the beginning. It will make it a bit easier to make changes and things if you need to. So the first thing we'll do is a front wheel over here. And if you haven't seen these films before, what we do is use the wheel as a unit of measurement. So we're going to measure the wheelbase in terms of this wheel. So however big you've drawn this first circle, you need to measure the same again once, twice, and 3 times before doing another one. And this one can be a tiny bit bigger. Next we're going to do the bottom of the car, and it starts just a tiny bit lower than the centre of the front wheel and ends a tiny bit higher than the centre of the back wheel. It's a straight line. Use your whole arm to sort of sweep a nice straight line. Next we need a really long straight line that's parallel to this one, so whatever angle this is, the next one needs to be the same distance apart. And it just touches the top of the front wheel. It goes a long way out behind. Didn't manage to do that in one line, unfortunately. This is going to be the back of the car, and it's got a really long overhang, so we're going to use our wheel as a unit of measurement again and measure 1.5 wheels further back. Go up to your line, make a little mark. That's the furthest back part where the light is. It angles down, makes a turn, and then heads for this point here. So wherever the bottom of your car is, on the other side of the wheel, that's kind of where that line wants to head off, so it tips up slightly. At the front, we haven't got quite such a big overhang. It's 2/3 of a wheel, so here's one wheel, and 2/3 is about there. Make a little mark. And perpendicular, so at right angles to that line, we've got the front of the car. And again, that comes down for a bit, and then heads off kind of horizontal, just above the centre of the front wheel. Now we've got a couple of curves to do, very gentle curves. They're almost not curves, but they are. And they're just bulges across the arches. So about 1/3 of a wheel up above the front wheel. We're going to have an arc here, which you can do with the sweep of your arm. So just use the arm as it swings to give yourself a slight curving line there. And you can put a rounded front in the front. Got another one of those at the back, and the highest point of the arc is just ahead, sort of just at the front edge of the wheel. It's not over the centre, it's about here would be the high point. So it starts a bit in front and then becomes more straight as it goes towards the back where the boot is, the trunk. Now we'll put the door in. So if you come back to your front wheel, measure 1/2 wheel further back. We're going to measure along this line. Just a tiny bit behind there. We've got the door that slopes that way above the line and that way beneath it. At the back we want to come to about the 1/2 wheel mark in from the back wheel, and we want an almost straight line. It's got a slight bulge, and it wants to be perpendicular to this line here again, so just something like that. Now we're going to put the A pillar in. That's the one that is between the windscreen and the side windows. So from here, go back a little bit and up a little bit. That's where it's going to start. And it's got quite a shallow windscreen. You can do a couple of lines there for the post. At this point we know we come parallel to this line for a bit. But before you get to the back edge of the door, it starts to tilt upwards. For the roof, it's completely straight and it's parallel to this line again. So whatever angle that is to your roof, the same. And at this point, we can now put this small B pillar in, which is, so where the back of the door needs to carry on to that line. We come forward a little bit, and then this pillar here tilts backwards slightly. And then just a little bit behind it, there's a tiny rear window that comes down and curves round to meet this top edge of the door. We need to give that roof a bit of thickness, and we'll put the windscreen in. So it's almost the same as this line, but it just gets a bit wider towards the bottom. And we'll follow this line at the bottom round, curve it slightly to make the bottom edge of the windscreen, and that can also become your bonnet. Now to finish off the roof, it extends beyond this point, and when you get somewhere about here in relation to the back wheel, that's about where it starts to tip downwards, and then it has another angle, a soft one, before heading down to the back. And the other angle is somewhere about here in relation to that wheel if you come up. It's about there. So we're going to go down to there, turn a corner and head towards the back. And it's quite a soft bend, it's not a sharp angle. And at the last point here, it's sort of chamfered, so it's sort of chiselled off. So then we've got our basic shape of the Ford Torino. We can put the ground in. And now we can do the fun stuff. So we'll put in a bit of a sill in the middle and at the back, and these enormous safety bumpers that they had in the 1970s. Big sort of rectangle shapes. Slightly smaller at the front. And we'll put the arches in as well. That's quite a sort of feature of this car. They're almost boxes, but they've got very rounded sides and corners. Something like that. We've got a door handle to put in here, a keyhole. We've got a small rear view mirror that looks like a sort of bullet shape. Maybe you can see a bit of the chair inside, the seats. There's a repeater indicator light there. We'll show the wheels on the far side of the car, just by copying the curves of the front wheels. And we'll put in some detail on the wheels as well. They've got these sort of slotted wheels, so 5 little banana shapes. And at this point, I think, if you're happy with what you've done and you haven't got to change the proportions of anything, you can press a little bit harder just to firm up things like the underside of the car where it would be darker. I think there might even be a little spoiler down there. Can't quite make it out on my reference. You probably see a bit of the muffler down there, the exhaust. You can darken the shadow on the ground slightly just to make that look more like it's sitting on something. Anything that's the underside of a surface can be a little bit darker because that just shows that it's in shadow. And we'll also just show the inside of the cabin, cockpit, whatever you call the inside of the car. The interior, that's what they call the inside. So you'd be able to see just up into the roof area, and you'd see a bit of that interior there. And of course, because it's the Starsky and Hutch car, we need the magnetic light, maybe with the cable coming down, and we need the stripe. The stripe pretty much follows the line of the roof at the back here. It goes to a point right down the front there, so you need to use your swing of your arm again. And there's a bit of a sort of double change in direction at the back there, with soft corners. If you've got time, you can get yourself some colouring pencils or pens, add a bit of colour. I'll just quickly add a little bit of shadow to this. Just in there where it's going to be dark. Maybe inside the wheel as well. And there you have it, Starsky and Hutch. Hope you enjoyed that. Let me know how you got on in the comments. Hope it wasn't too difficult. And like and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you for another one soon.